Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we will take a look at some new revenge content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
First one is titled, The Suicide Pact, or, How One Boss Treated His Employees So Badly Corporate Helped Them Rebel. Gear up, because this is going to be a long one. This happened about several years ago, so I don't remember every detail as it happened, but this is accurate to the best of my recollections. I, at the time 21 male, used to work for a company that sold phone cases and did phone and tablet repairs. The shop was this little kiosk inside a mall and the manager was this guy we will call Manny, 27 male, whom I quickly became close friends with. We were quite good at our jobs. I was the lead repair technician and acting assistant manager, and Manny was so efficient as a salesman that he could have sold water to a drowning man. We had two employees working for us, whom we will simply call employee number 1 and employee number 2. They were only around for the last few months I worked at this location, but we all became, and remain to this day, great friends thanks to the incident I will be describing. The four of us ran a very tight ship. Our store always looked flawless, despite the fact that it was literally the size of a walk-in closet. Our Google and Yelp pages, though only recently created, were flooded with good reviews and word of mouth was spreading that we were one of the best phone repair shops in the mall, which earned us lots of repeat customers and lots of glowing recommendations. Our kiosk became one of the company's best performing stores in the region, and our performance didn't go unnoticed by corporate higher-ups, either. So when the company decided to sell the kiosk, they successfully enticed Manny and myself into continuing to work for them by offering us both promotions and pay increases if we relocated to other areas and opened up new stores. Employee number 1, 19 female, and employee number 2, 22 male, declined to be relocated, but they agreed to remain on until Manny and I were finally transferred out. However, corporate informed us that it would be at least a month before all of the appropriate paperwork was filed. Hooray for red tape. And for construction to begin on these new stores, the four of us would continue working for the new owner and receive our pay from him. On the day we all met new owner, 42 male, it was immediately clear that the transition was going to be rough. He began changing our work practices immediately, and we quickly become acquainted with his pushy sales tactics, shady business practices, and other strange behaviors, such as contradicting us in front of customers about policies he admitted to not being familiar with. We jokingly took bets on how long it would be before the kiosk became a dumpster fire. None of us anticipated the fire catching as quickly as it did. First, he raised the prices on everything. All of our products, cases, chargers, screen protectors, etc., went up by an average of about $10 to $20 each, well above what they were worth. He would add absurd fees to repair costs, haggled with customers over prices like it was a market stall, and kicked our return policy out the window. He refused to honor our customers' repair warranties, something which caused him to constantly butt heads with Manny. Our previously flawless Google and Yelp ratings tanked within 3 days of new owner taking over, and that was just the beginning. Once he had firmly ruined our established relationship with our customer base, new owner started to gut his employees. He began by cutting the hours of both Manny and employee number 2, our second best repair tech, as new owner wanted to get some hands-on experience with the customers and the repairs. But since he had no repair training, this meant he was constantly keeping me well beyond my typical hours, often from open until close, despite the fact that all of us were sufficiently skilled in the same repairs. I don't normally mind extra hours, but not at the expense of my friends and coworkers. In any event, it had become clear that new owner not only wanted to force both Manny and employee number 2 to quit by cutting their hours, but also buy my loyalty by giving me an employee number 1 those same hours. Additionally, new owner was constantly scheduling employee number 1, again, just barely 19 and the only female on our crew, to work alone with him, an act that we all understood to be very predatory given their age difference. While employee number 1 made it clear that new owner never overtly did anything inappropriate, we took it upon ourselves to make sure that they were never alone together. Fortunately, Manny's best friend at the time was the head of mall security, and we'd also made friends with the managers and employees of other nearby shops, so thankfully someone was always watching. But the biggest issue was our pay. I was supposed to be paid a handsome hourly plus a 10% commission on all my repairs and sales. However, when I asked for my paycheck, new owner said that he hadn't received them yet and would let me know when they came in. That was the largest red flag yet. Our checks had always been delivered on the 1st and 15th of the month, but none of us received our checks that week, even the pittance that Manny and employee number 2 were expecting thanks to their cut hours. And we knew he was making money. He was constantly bragging about how his other businesses were much more profitable. This scheduling, pay issues went on for 2 weeks, with Manny and employee number 2 barely making any hours and no paychecks forthcoming. At this point, Manny and I had gotten our transfer paperwork filed and were preparing to pack up and move out of our respective apartments. He was going to Phoenix while I was moving to Norman, Oklahoma. However, since I'd basically been opening and closing the shop nearly every single day, I'd not had the time to pack anything, and the Norman shop was scheduled to open in just 2 weeks. I also needed to be there a few days early to help set everything up and get new employees trained, as I was also getting a promotion with this transfer to assistant store manager. I needed time off to pack and move. When I explained this to new owner, however, he insisted that he needed me here to help with repairs. I argued that employee number 2 was quite skilled with the repairs, since I had trained him myself, but new owner insisted that he wanted my experience. It wasn't until I reiterated that I had a set day that I had to be in Norman that he finally said, "Let me go make the schedule and see what I can do," and then left for lunch. He came back an hour later with the schedule for the next 2 weeks. Surprise, surprise, new owner has me working 12 out of the next 14 days. The only days off he had given me were the next Sunday, which was grayed out with "requested off," and the last day before I was scheduled to be in Norman, for which he had me listed as "on call." Later, as I was leaving for the day, new owner, much to my shock, handed me $3,000 cash and asked me to take everyone their pay. $1,000 was mine, $1,500 was Manny's, and I was told to split the remaining $500 between employee number 1 and employee number 2, however I saw fit. Honestly, that $3,000 didn't even cover what I alone was owed, but by that point, we were all behind on our bills and moving expenses, and anything, was better than nothing. I then called Manny, employee number 1, and employee number 2, and we convened at Manny's apartment for a small celebration that consisted of alcohol and other less than legal substances as we discussed our friendship and how awful of a boss new owner had been. During our revelry, the conversation turned into a drunken fantasy about how we were going to get back at new owner, and it wasn't long before we came up with a plan that we thought was halfway decent. Our ultimate solution was a suicide pact, meaning we would all quit on the same day. Since my final day was coming up first, we chose that as the date, with the caveat that if someone got fired before that deadline, we'd all jump ship that day instead. It was a great plan, but I felt that it wasn't nearly enough. When I left for home that night, I messaged my soon-to-be boss from the new store, we shall call him Jay, about what was going on with new owner. He said that because new owner was a franchisee and not a corporate employee, they were limited with the actions they could take. However, he assured me that action would be taken. We wound up putting our plan into effect barely 2 days later. Employee number 2 called me at 7 in the morning and told me that he had woken up to a voicemail new owner had left him at 3 a.m. to tell him that he was letting him go. I passed the message along to Manny and employee number 1. The time had come, and neither of them would be showing up for their next shifts. I, however, would be going in for my shift to open, as Jay had given me a last-minute assignment the night before. After a brief stop at Walmart, I arrived at the kiosk at 7:45, well before new owner had arrived, and quickly cleaned out all of the repair parts and tools which had been purchased by our corporate office. As well as all of the collegiate and pro sports licensed cases, the bejeweled phone cases that we sold for a premium, the marketing displays, and the special packaging we used for gifting. Any product or accessory that had the company logo in it was removed from the kiosk. I then wrapped all of these items in bubble wrap, placed them inside the 2 shipping boxes I got from Walmart, and waited for UPS to arrive. When they did, I was handed a padded envelope from our corporate office with 2 shipping labels, one addressed to the Norman store, the other to the Arizona store. And 2 so-called asset reallocation forms, which Jay had instructed me to fill out with the items in each box before placing and sealing it inside. Then fix the shipping labels to the outside of each box. Once this was done, the UPS guy kindly took both boxes with him. Side note: I am reasonably confident that these were not legitimate company documents and were instead something Jay or another corporate manager had manufactured for the ruse, because I had never seen them before and never saw them again. Anyway, as the morning progressed, I told all of our neighbors and returning customers about the situation and advised all of them to steer clear of new owner and the kiosk after that day. Some of them asked me to fix their phones one last time, and then thanked me graciously by tipping the full amount of the repair. As my shift ended, I said my goodbyes to all the friends I'd made at the mall, and when new owner finally came in to take over for the day, I thanked him kindly and told him that I would see him tomorrow. I never saw him again. Over the next week and a half, new owner tried calling me numerous times from different numbers, but I ignored them all. He left desperate voicemails begging to get somebody to come in and cover for him, and I began hearing through the grapevine that new owner had been getting into shouting matches with his customers and other managers within the mall, further driving people away as word got around that the cell phone guys everybody liked were no longer there. Eventually, new owner got in contact with Manny and asked him to try and get some of us to come in, including the guy he fired at 3 a.m. Manny responded by saying that he would have us come in if new owner paid us what he owed us. He never paid us, and we never went back. Sadly, that's where our part in the revenge came to an end, but karma ultimately finished the job. New owner did eventually try to retaliate and complained to corporate that I had stolen his merchandise. By then, however, corporate was very familiar with our side of the story, and the forms I filled out proved that the merchandise in question had in fact been reallocated to other locations, which saved the company thousands of dollars in expenses on the new stores. To add insult to injury, new owner would have to repurchase all of that merchandise with his own money. I placed new owner out of my mind, and eventually left that company for greener pastures about a year later, but not before learning what had happened to new owner. He apparently ran it for less than 6 months, couldn't keep employees longer than a few weeks, again, the pay issues, and was $50,000 in debt by the time he sold the location. Turns out that those other businesses weren't doing as well as he boasted. Nobody in that mall ever saw him again after that. The shop is still there under new owners, by my understanding. The kiosk has changed hands a few times over the years. And while all 4 of us have moved on to different places in our lives, every once in a while, we'll all get on Xbox and reminisce about our experiences there. Our collective lottery fantasy is to eventually buy the kiosk back and run it like we did in the good old days. Last one is titled, "Let Your Kids Run Wild?" You can buy $90 shoes for them instead of yourself. In the late 90s, I worked for a major retail store that was well known for its open commercials. I was hired for seasonal work and quickly learned how to run every department and quickly was working solo in many of the departments. Well, the particular day in question, I was assigned to their shoe department. It was 20 minutes to closing and the customer walks in with 4 kids all under the age of 5. I had just finished cleaning up the department and when she just left her kids to run wild while she looked for shoes in peace. I was seeing red. Her kids are in tattered shoes and their outfits aren't much better while over-entitled mom is in really nice clothing and is wearing what I knew to be a $200 pair of shoes. Also, there is no way I'm staying late to clean up after her kids. I was a nanny to large families and foster families before moving to the state I currently live in, so I'm really good with kids. To top it off, at the time I'm 19 years old, and well, I'm an extremely sarcastic, petty person. Cue my revenge. I go gather the kids as soon as she's out of sight and in my sweetest nanny way ask them if they want new shoes today. All 4 kids' eyes light up and they are so excited that the nice lady said they get new shoes. Well, I measure their feet and take them over to where the children's shoes are. I let them pick shoes they want and not only make sure they fit but put the pairs of shoes on the kids. As she stayed after closing, we had closed the metal doors to the mall, so she's locked inside the store. She comes out with a $90 pair of shoes for her to see her kids all smiling holding shoe boxes and wearing shoes. Over-entitled mom starts telling the kids they didn't come to get them shoes but that mommy needed new shoes. Cue the kids starting to bawl. The manager comes and the over-entitled mom starts getting uppity about how I needed to be fired for watching her kids while she ignored them and helping them find new shoes. The manager takes the shoe boxes from the kids and looks at their old shoes and then looks at over-entitled mom with an "Are you ducking serious?" look on her face. She says, "Well, I've been watching security footage and noticed you left the kids without supervision as soon as you entered the store." Then she asks over-entitled mom if she would like to purchase the kids' new shoes or if she would like us to call CPS and report her for negligence as we have all the proof needed to have her kids taken by CPS. Over-entitled mom turns red and throws the shoes she was going to buy back towards the women's department and curtly told me to ring the kids' shoes up. She paid and stormed out, without a receipt, so no returns, with the kids who are all super happy that they got new shoes. The next part 1 found out later when I ran into the manager shopping. Over-entitled mom came back to the store several months later. Apparently, the manager couldn't get the situation off her mind and she called CPS on over-entitled mom. Over-entitled mom had paid with a check, so the manager had over-entitled mom's name and address and asked for a wellness check on the kids. CPS in the end took the kids. Over-entitled mom returned to the store to confront me for her losing her meal ticket, as she lost her welfare checks when she lost the kids. Apparently, she caused such a scene that the police were called. Over-entitled mom was arrested, permanently lost the kids, and the manager was in the process of trying to adopt all 4 kids when we spoke last. I lost contact with the manager after the store closed. The mall was torn down and a much nicer commerce residential open-air mall was rebuilt. The company closed the chain store down and now only has the cheaper store associated with red circles that the manager didn't go work for. Thanks for listening.